Welcome to another episode of Stow Nation, a production of Park Media. Before I introduce today's guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, and leave a 5-star review. And if you find this podcast useful in any way and want to pay us the ultimate compliment, head on over to our Patreon page where you can subscribe to be a Classic, Stealth, or Beast Mode subscriber. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the Patreon site where you can literally support this podcast for less than a cup of coffee per month. Okay, in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, there should be a red dot. Does everyone have a red dot?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
So we are hot. All right. So here we go. Okay, thanks for joining, everyone. This is actually a first for Stow Nation podcast. We have Lionel, who is comparing the Revel to the Storyteller, and then we have Lorenzo, and then we have Gordy and Dolly. And so we're going to have an open discussion about whatever questions that Lionel has, and we'll just see where it goes from there. So I think you guys know, but just in case, my name is YoungWa, and I've owned my 2020 Classic since September. So, and I have about 19,000 miles on it since. So
I guess I'll go next, Lorenzo, and I have a 21 Stealth, and we've owned it since the beginning of December. We have about 4,500 miles on it now, yeah.
okay, cool.
Okay. I'm Dolly, and this is Gordy, and we have the 2021 Classic, the Mode Classic that we got just after Christmas in Fort Worth, Texas. Just before.
Nice.
And the most miles we put on it was driving it from Texas to Southern California on its return maiden voyage. We have about 2,200 miles on it, I believe now, and we'll add a couple hundred miles tomorrow when we take it to Anaheim to get the Van Compass suspension kit put on.
Oh, wow. Which one are you getting? The 4.3?
The 4.3, yes.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm excited for you guys.
Well, I'm jealous hearing from all of you. This is Lionel, and I have gone back and forth between the Winnebago Revel and the Storyteller. The one I'm interested in most is the Stealth. So, Lorenzo, you have the one that I'm in love with. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm a van wannabe, but hopefully not for too much longer.
Yeah, well, hopefully this discussion will be able to help you steer whatever direction that you want to go. And I'll say, kind of not only as a host, but I guess I would say moderator for lack of better terms. Like, I don't think we're here to try to sell you on the Storyteller, and we're not going to try to sell you on the Revel either. We're just here to answer whatever questions and concerns that you have through our own experiences and knowledge. So feel free to fire away.
Well, I have a question for Lionel first. Have you rented either one of them or used them, or have you just taken a walk through to see them?
Nope, just taking a walk through to see them. There's a neighbor of mine who had a Revel, and I was able to see that one a little bit more up close and personal and drive around in that one. I've not driven a Storyteller just yet, but every forum that I read, one of the first things that comes up is that how quiet it is, because I did notice the Revel had several rattles, but since that was kind of my first entry into what I was hoping a van would look like I think I started out looking at the Travados, and then when I saw the four-wheel drive Revel, especially where I live, I'm up in the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, it was a no-brainer that would just be a little bit more advantageous for me to have. So no, I've not yet driven the Storyteller Stealth, but like I said, I'm a nut for having a quiet ride, and the Revel was certainly not quiet.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a major concern about that. So that's one of the reasons why I decided not to buy the Revel personally. But
Now, did you, so you were looking at both of them when you were kind of considering which van you were going to buy?
Yeah.
I,
For
I,
us, Revel and Storyteller.
yeah, I think everybody kind of goes through that. You mentioned the Travato, and we even considered the Solus for a little while when they were first introduced. But it didn't fit our needs. One of the things we thought we might need to tow, we have classic cars, and we may want to tow the vehicle to a car show or something, and the four-wheel drive gave us the advantage over the two-wheel drive in the Ram. So that led us towards the Mercedes first off, and we were first interested in the Revel, and then got introduced to the Storyteller at the Fontana RV show the year
October 19.
October of 19, yeah, a year almost and a half ago, and saw it and liked the open concept of it, which then prompted us to go and rent a Revel for a weekend and 3 or 4 days, I guess, and kind of got used to it, made sure that we didn't mind the driving position and the so forth, and that what we found that was it wasn't a dislike, it was just not as nice. We felt like the wasted space of having a permanent bathroom and shower. We again liked the open concept of the Storyteller. We did like the drop-down bed that was in the Revel, but some of that was counteracted by the fact that there's no storage cabinets in the back by the bed as there is in the Storyteller. So again, there's pluses and minuses to both of them, and a lot depends on what you feel most comfortable with, which prompted my question of, have you seen them to look at them closely other than online?
One of the things that always bothered me about the Revel as well was just how there was nothing in back, and how the bed rises to the ceiling and kind of takes away any storage spaces that you might have. And then, of course, I stumbled upon the GLSS system. Jason's company, what is it? Something Adventure?
it's a Canyon Adventure Vans.
Yeah, Canyon Adventure Vans. And I was like, oh, this could be the perfect solution. But one of the things that I noticed that he's done is the amount of money that you put into a Revel after you have a Revel, and the amount of money a Revel costs. I mean, he's put in all of this sound deadening stuff, insulation, the GLSS, and he's doing just several other modifications. He's even coming out with something to extend his shower. So I was just kind of looking at that and tallying everything up and just saying, man, it would just be great to just buy a van that had everything right off the bat, so you wouldn't have to have all these add-ons. And one of the things that I did notice, kind of what you were talking about, Gordy, was just how when you get into a Revel, because of the bathroom, it does feel a little bit cramped.
Well, yeah, I would mention too that now we have a 2021, and the 2021 Revels copied a couple of things from the 2020 Storyteller, which were points that we didn't like about the Revel that we rented. One was that the refrigerator was back in the cabin, and the Storyteller, we thought, well, that's pretty cool to have the refrigerator where it's accessible from just the side door. Well, then Winnebago went and copied that in their new models, And the same thing, and that was also a pinch point when you're back in the cabin, you're trying to load or unload anything. You have to get into the van in order to unload your groceries or do anything like that. That also precluded anybody else from really moving around in the van. So again, that's a good point with the Storyteller, but Winnebago has fixed that. The other thing, the first Storyteller we saw had a removable cooktop, the induction cooktop that would fit out on the outside table or fit up on the kitchenette shelf, and the new Revels do as well. So I think those two things were things that, but conversely, the Revel price was a lot lower in 2020 than it is now, and so that kind of gave it a competitive advantage for those disadvantages. But now I understand the Revel prices are approaching Storytellers, so I don't know what the difference is other than, again, the quality of build and the quietness of the ride.
Now, having not been in a Storyteller, maybe Lorenzo, you have the same model that I want. What was it about the stealth that drew you to it over the other two?
Well, for me, obviously the aesthetics. I I have one thing to keep in mind with Storyteller is that the original stealth was actually a selenite gray paint, metallic paint job. The current one available is actually the blue gray that the Mercedes offers. So if you were to purchase a stealth right now, you would be getting a blue gray. So just wanted to point that out. But having said that, like I said, the appearance package, all the Mercedes emblems are blacked out. You still have graphics. Obviously, it says Storyteller on the side, but they're more muted. Uh, uh, I gotta say that, sometimes those retro stripes from Storyteller are kind of cool on the side, but I wanted a little bit. Um, as you may, a little bit more stealth, I guess, even though it still says Storyteller on the side and in big letters. But I don't know. To me, it appealed a little bit more than the classic or the Beast. The Beast, even the I think the graphics are a little bit more pronounced, even more so than the others. But other than that, with the classic, there's really not much else other than appearance. There's really not much else that's different from the two. So, if um, now if you move up to the Beast, then you
Right.
add different components that aren't available on the other two. But as many on the forum have done, it's they buy a classic or they buy a stealth, and they're slowly turning into their own version of a beast, I guess you can say. I mean, I know Gordy mentioned earlier that he was getting the Van Compass Stage 4.3 suspension. Um, I have on my Stealth the Stage 4.5. It's essentially the same shocks for the most part, but my system has a electronic control module that electronically controls the dampening of the shocks, which is pretty awesome. It's more expensive, but it's still pretty cool. And um, yeah, I think I think from the get-go, like I said, it was primarily the aesthetics.
Now, one of the things.
Especially in
Go ahead, Gordy. Sorry.
especially in the Pacific Northwest, the 4.5 would allow you to change the suspension without getting out in the rain.
Yes,
Exactly.
which is very,
Exactly.
very important to us up here.
So
Yes.
where in the Pacific are you?
Just to the south of Portland in a town called Lake Oswego.
Okay, Lake Oswego. There are 2 or 3 or 4 storytellers in the Portland area, and you might want to go on the forum and ask if any of those owners would be willing to show you the vehicles. Most of us are pretty happy to show them off and brag and tell people what we've done to them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. YoungWa, maybe you can help me find said person. I was telling YoungWa before, I'm not on Facebook, so I have to kind of lurk everybody's Facebooks via my wife's. So
There's actually a document on the Facebook page where it has the general location of where everyone, I mean, this is all volunteer info, where everyone is generally located at. And so I can pull it out and take a look at it and, let you know who's in your area. If you, I think there's like a couple people already in Portland. I know there's quite a few in Seattle.
Yeah.
I want to say there's like maybe 2 off the top of my head in Portland, but I can definitely help you out. And I know that most people will be more than happy to show off their storyteller to you. So,
perfect. One of the questions I had for all of you is how do you use your vans? Like, and I say this, it's probably a generic question, but like I saw an Instagram post which had me track down you, YoungWa, that you were cooking in yours, and this immediately prompted me to ask, okay, do you shower in yours? Do you use the bathroom in yours? Do you camp overnight in yours? I mean, I was just kind of trying to figure that out, and of course, YoungWa, you said, well, I've showered in it once, maybe I've gone to the bathroom once, but, you kind of have your memberships in various places that you travel to. And, but I was just sort of curious from the rest of the group how you guys use your vans.
I can go next, I guess. I mean, to be honest, we use it quite a bit. We prior to getting the Stealth, we had 2 SUVs, and we got rid of one of the SUVs before we picked up the Stealth. So in other sense, it's like our it was supposed to be our second vehicle, but it's very quickly became our first vehicle. We practically drive it everywhere because I have a 3-year-old daughter, and at times when we're gonna go somewhere as a family, she's always saying, "Can we take the RV?"
So it's
So,
become a daily driver
uh,
for you.
oh yeah, we drive it a lot. We drive it a lot, and we've used everything in the RV, or we've cooked in it. We've been overnight. A handful of times, actually more than a handful of times. And I mean, to be honest, it's like we really purchased it because it would allow us, the flexibility to travel, to go places, and not have to worry about, can we go out and use the restroom, or can we go and do this, and do we have to rush back? And essentially, with having your own little, home away from home, it's like you don't have to worry about a lot of things, and it removes a little bit of anxiety from, like, oh, we have to, make sure that we have access to this or that, and especially with having a young daughter too, it definitely helps in those respects. So, like, to be honest, I could say it's something that has really, um, uh, for us, it's been, my wife and I have really, said that it's probably one of the best decisions we've made
Hmm.
with, was purchasing the stuff. So, yeah.
So
hey Lorenzo.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry. For the bathroom, how do you work out like the privacy between you and your wife, or like what mitigation do you do?
To be honest, we we are very comfortable with each other, so it's not an issue. And then especially with having a young daughter, we both have to tend to her, and vice versa. I mean, yes, we try to give each other a little bit of privacy. Like, let's say if I'm going to the restroom, she and my daughter are, in the front cabin portion or whatnot, and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, it's never really been an issue, at least for us. So.
We're lifelong tent campers, and this is wonderful. Camping in the Pacific Northwest, and it starts raining, and you huddle up in your tent. No more. So one of the reasons we bought it is we live in Palm Springs area, and in the summer it's very hot. Nobody goes outside. So we got it to go back up to the Pacific Northwest and visit friends and family up there in the summer when it's beautiful. And so it's going to be a home away from home. That's what we got for us.
Yeah, I was just mentally figuring it out. We've owned the vehicle for about 80 days, and we've spent 10 nights in it.
Jeez.
And five of them were coming back from Texas where we bought it, and we've been out for a couple of 2-night excursions. And actually, last week my daughter was down visiting with her husband, and we went out further into the desert towards Arizona, and we took a tent, and Dolly and I slept in the tent, and the kids slept in the van, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. My son-in-law has a CPAP machine, and he thought, roughing it with a CPAP machine was going to be difficult on his sleeping, but we didn't have any trouble. The trouble we had was getting him out of bed in the morning, actually. So. And as far as, I guess we've each showered in it once, and we've had one emergency number 2 pit stop that's all we've ever used it for. And just like Dolly said, we're tent campers, and we're kind of used to peeing on a tree somewhere. So
Right.
we're not, and again, like Lorenzo said, he and Catherine are, they're comfortable with each other, and that's the same with Dolly and I. I mean, you do have to get used to it, and it depends on your personal preferences. To me, I'd rather be on the toilet in a wide open area than crammed in a little closet and having to go to the bathroom. But that's a personal preference as well.
Right. That's right. But since the toilet's portable, you kind of take it out and write on an amazing vista and say, isn't this great?
Well, yeah.
Make it your throne.
Yeah, and I have seen or heard of people saying they set up those little portable tent shower tents if they're going to be in one place for a while, and so that's an option to give one more privacy and so forth. So there's workarounds with it. So
Has anyone here seen Nomadland yet?
Yes.
Yep. I'm actually going to watch that tonight.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know.
I thought it was depressing, but
Me too.
everybody liked it.
Aww.
Oh man.
I'm with you, Dolly. I was like, wow, this is like, remind me never to be homeless and living in my van.
Well, I can say from experience, it's not that bad. So, because before I got in a wreck and I, had to hunker down in Tucson for a while, I was full time, and since September, I put almost 19,000 miles in it. So, and to go back to the point and topic, the bathroom thing, you'll find that when you travel, whenever you stop, right, there's bathrooms. And even if you have to stop and you don't want to use a toilet, like me, I didn't want to use a toilet personally. That's why I only use it a couple times. And I shouldn't say I go out of my way. I'm very cognizant of not using it if I don't have to. And I'm all by myself. So that's just me. Cause I'm not a fan of like the cassette toilet. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me, but anyways, you'll find that being on the road, unless you're like hunkered down for like, I don't know, a couple days at a campsite or something, you won't need the toilet. And even if you do go to a campsite, they're gonna have toilets there. So, um, and I have a regular schedule in regards to number two, so I know exactly when I need to go. So, I kind of plan around that. But and as far as the shower goes, like I was telling you earlier, I just use a gym membership, and it also kind of depends what state I'm in. But if the state is open for the gym, because I have an Anytime Fitness one, I'll just go in there and do my thing, and you know, I'll literally camp outside of an Anytime Fitness sometimes just to use the bathroom because I can go in there as much as I want, whenever I want. You know what I mean? So it works out well. But I think I can see where not only you're concerned, but other people in your position would be concerned about, like, if you go to like a BLM land, right, and you camp out for like 5 to 7, 10 days or whatnot, then yeah, that'll be more of a concern. So, and I think it's just how, I don't know, the way that I look at it, because I saw Revel too, and I'm a pretty small person, right? And I don't like being all claustrophobic in that bathroom. So that's just personally, how I feel about that. But then if you're concerned about privacy, then you should probably get the Revel. So, you know.
Now, how does the shower work? I mean, does that curtain sort of stick to you? Does it stay in the
No.
enclosure of the pan?
Yeah. We used it once each, and we're not real tall people. He's 5'8" and I'm 5'4". We're not real big people. It might be a problem for a tall person, but it was fine. It was warm. You have to take a Navy shower because you don't want to use all your water in the shower.
Right.
But it was a fine experience. I got clean.
Now, one of the things that I was curious about is when you drive a Revel and you go and drive a Storyteller, is there a significant difference in the sound and rattles and I don't know, just the structure and feel of it?
To be honest, I actually never personally driven a Rebel, but I have seen, videos of people driving in a Rebel, and you can hear the rattles in the videos. So it's like I didn't have to drive one to just to hear the rattles. And when I picked up my Stealth and drove it home, um, no rattles whatsoever. I, every now and then you'll hear someone that mentions, "Oh, I started hearing a little rattle here and there," and I mean, I gotta say that in our Stealth, the rattles that we hear are stuff that we've introduced. It's just stuff that we're carrying around that rattles. Other than that, if we don't, you know, it, you know, like I said, it's just stuff that we've done that or added or how we placed our bowls or plates or whatnot that when you go on a bump and then they rattle. But for the most part, it's not something that that Storyteller did or did not do per se.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The rattle and noises you hear in a van, of any type of van, are ones that are usually self-created. The Revel, I guess when we rented it, we weren't listening so much for the rattles, and we notice it in the Storyteller, but the rattles again are because we haven't wrapped the silverware in the drawer and that kind of thing, and so those things. One of the things that I was attracted to the Storyteller for, even though we live in the California desert and plan on spending summers in the Pacific Northwest, was the fact that all of the water lines and everything are insulated. And so you don't have to do the constant level of winterization and dewinterization in the Storyteller that you do in the Revel if you're going to use it at the winter, if you're a skier or a snowboarder or snowshoer or anything like that. So that holds a real definite advantage. And then the other thing that I don't think anybody has mentioned yet, but the customer support from Storyteller is absolutely out of this world. And compared with Winnebago's, I wouldn't talk them down, but they're a large manufacturer, and they make a lot of vehicles and a lot of money, and they this fledgling startup was a real attraction, especially as we got to know more and more people in the it's a community. It's a real community that Storyteller has developed.
Yeah, and I would second that. I mean, or I wouldn't be doing this podcast for the community, and like Lorenzo and everyone else helping me make this podcast happen. It'd just be chirp, 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 and I'd be all by myself, but that's not the case. But to answer, to go back real quick on the shower thing. So when I took the shower, I was afraid it was going to stick on me. And I'm not going to lie, it did stick a little bit on me, but that's because there's no really good shower caddy solution that I know of. And so I had all my shampoo and stuff on the floor. So when I bent down, I got stuck a little bit, but it's not like bad. I will say the difference between the reason why I like the Storyteller shower versus a Revel is because I don't know how tall and big you are, but everyone's taller than me. So you're tall. But anyways, the thing is, like, for the taller people, because I'm only 5'1", but for the taller people, they have a big wingspan. And so when they try to move, they're literally hitting that, the side of the shower, right? But with the Revel, you have the curtain. So even though it may stick on you, you still have that mobility, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So that's something to keep in mind. I will say, though, that drying the shower curtain, and maybe Gordy and Dolly can chirp in on this one, but I used a hair dryer to help dry it along because I was getting impatient and I had plans and an itinerary I needed to keep to. But anyways, so I blew dry it, and then you put the fan on and it does help. But so I would say, from my experience, at one time it took me probably like 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes, I think. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you do take a shower in it, it will take some time to dry that shower curtain. But I will say, if it does get really nasty and moldy, you can take it out and replace it pretty easily. The one, I think, so I don't know about anyone else in the group, but I think these two definitely know that I've done a lot of mods to my van. I've basically tore it apart. And so the build quality comes from two things that I've seen from basically dissecting my van. The first one is they put Havelock wool everywhere it can fit, which is good. I've seen videos of the 2021 Revel where they basically put a piece of, I don't know what it is.
Newspaper?
They call it insulation. I mean, it'd probably do a better job than what, I'll stop. But they use Havelock wool, which helps with the sound deadening as well. But basically they case the entire inside with either 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch paneling, because that's how they put the upholstery up. And then so, they'll create little cubbies to route the water lines or like whatever wiring or whatnot. And then they are able to insulate that as well. And so what that does is basically help eliminate all the squeaks, because if you think about it, the Revel is basically a plastic molding, and there's nothing in there behind that molding to help support whatever they got going on back there. So I've seen pictures of where people pull stuff out and it's like a mess in the Revel. I don't know. But and I know from my own van, when I pull stuff out, things are tight, they're zip tied with the wires and the plumbing, it's not like you open it up and it's like Jack in the Box, like I've seen in other pictures.
Right.
So that's where when we talk about the quality, the build quality of why it doesn't rattle, that's one of the reasons why. And then with the galley, they use high quality drawers as well. So they're actually like, what is it? Dovetail? Yeah, dovetail. And it's the slow or the quiet.
Soft close.
When it closes.
Soft close.
Yeah, the soft close.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And so that helps eliminate a lot of the squeaks as well. So I think to answer your question of why it's quieter, from what I've seen, that's why. And then the last thing is that, to touch on what everyone else said, is that the customer service is like phenomenal. If you My next podcast will be released on Wednesday. You should listen to it because Jason Churn has a wonderful story of his interaction. So I think maybe a couple months ago, Dan was like the primary guy, that troubleshooter guy, I think. So we all
Dan the
call him
man.
Dan the man. So
Yeah.
luckily they have more people helping out, but like Dan really was the man. And to go off of what Gordy and Dolly are saying, they really care about the community, and the only way to do that is to show, not talk, but they actually show you that they love. And I personally stopped at the Storyteller factory because my top drawer didn't latch, and I talked to, I think, everyone but the CEO, Jeffrey, at the time. I don't know if he was in, but anyways, they all came up. They were like, "Hey, how you like it?" And they were super genuine. They were really happy. And I feel like if you showed up to the Winnebago factory and it was like, "Hey, what's going on? Can you help me out?"
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Come back
I
on
used to own a
Monday.
Travato. Yeah, I used to own a Travato, so I'm just like, but
Interesting.
yeah. So those are some, I guess, important parts I would take into consideration when you make your purchase.
I'd like to add real quick too, Lionel. You mentioned the GLSS system, and I believe they make them for both the Revel and the Storyteller
Right.
now. But there's a fella in Seattle who's an architect, a retired architect, I guess, a former architect, and he is designing a system, and he'll custom design it depending on your needs. His name is Chip Vollers, and he just opened up a website which I think is called Van-Mod or something like that. Maybe YoungWa, you could fill him in with that on an email or something. But Chip was real. He posts a lot of things on the Facebook page, and I know he and I were chatting back and forth because we were interested in how to arrange some storage underneath the driver's side bed that we don't put up. We leave it down all the time, but we wanted to build in some at least semi-permanent shelving and drawers and so forth there. So,
speaking of shelving, one thing the Revel has that the Storyteller doesn't is an overhead shelf in the driver's compartment.
Oh, right.
So it's a really tall space, and so you're wasting all that overhead. And the Revel has a shelf there that's handy to put stuff in, but there's solutions.
Yeah.
So what we got was the Vancillary. They just send you a template of the shelf that fits exactly, and you just cut it out with that template and put up a couple of brackets, and it was $150.
Okay. I was going to ask you guys about your mods that you've done. Like I've heard the suspension. What was the draw for suspension? And then maybe if you can get into some of the other mods, I'd be kind of curious to hear what you guys have done and why.
Ooh, can I take that one?
Yeah, it's all you.
All right. Yeah, so I talked a little bit about the suspension earlier, but the real reason why I got the suspension is because the stock suspension on the Sprinters is great for when you have a stock Sprinter. When you're looking at a Revel and you're looking at a Storyteller, they're not stock anymore. They've added quite a few £1,000s of stuff and whatnot, and for the most part, no attention is paid to the suspension to be able to handle that weight. So what ends up happening is now, I mean, the vans are tall, so now you end up having a tall van that does not have the appropriate suspension that tends to lean and rock and whatnot. So on my very first trip, which was when I met Gordy and Dolly at Joshua Tree, I happened to be driving down the 10 freeway, and it just happened to be a super windy day where I I got to experience the what is the feature on these vans that had the
Oh, the
crosswind assist?
Oh, yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
That that's how windy it was, is that came on, and I was white knuckling the basically the whole drive over there because
Jeez.
it was crazy. And at that point I had already put in an order for the suspension, but after that drive I was like, I really need that thing, and since I've driven it to Yosemite and Crosswind, and it's just a whole different beast now. It's like
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to say that the suspension is perfect, but I will say that it's a night and day difference between driving a stock van, or a stock, let's just say Revel or Storyteller, versus with the upgraded suspension. It just handles more like it should, really. That's I guess the best way I can put it is that it handles more like an SUV when you upgrade the suspension, and before that it is just all over the place. Really, the suspension is not, it's not very that it's not predictable.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. I have a long list of of upgrades on mine now, and I think that's one thing that you'll find whether you go with a Revel or you go with a Storyteller, is that getting the van itself is probably just the entry level. That's your entryway to mod life.
Hashtag mod
It's a
life.
very addicting.
Yes, it's crazy. I mean, you start seeing, and that, and I think that that's one of the other things on the group. It's like we all take pride of the things that we do and the mods and stuff like that. So we'll post, and then other people in the group will see the post and they'll comment and they'll like, and next thing you know, it's like they do the same thing, and it kind of keeps the ball rolling, and we all keep helping each other out and stuff like that. But um, things that I've added, like Gordy and Dolly said, they added the ancillary shelf. That's kind of like the DIY one, where like they said, they give you the template and the brackets that you need and the hardware, but then you make your own shelf the way you want to make it. I ended up purchasing the another product. It's called the Van Wife, and I'm not even sure if it's made out of aluminum or light steel. I don't recall it might be made out of aluminum, but they make the shelf out of I think it's aluminum piece. Fits perfect in the area that includes all the hardware, all the brackets and everything. And really after you're done, it looks like that's how the van should have came anyways.
Hmm.
But it really looks really well. It looks good. Other mods that we've done. I mean, on mine, I changed the wheels, added bigger tires.
Jeez.
Uh, uh, and I haven't even posted this yet, but I also upgraded. So the one thing that I do love about the Rebel, that I was really bummed that the Storyteller did not have, was the LED lighting package. So from the outside, not only does it make the van look good, uh, the lights are brighter, and it makes driving easier. Um, and I'd been following, I think one other person on our group has done it, and I had also been following a couple other forums of people that have done it to other sprinters. And I finally, got all the parts together and started retrofitting my Stealth with the factory LED lighting package. About, maybe halfway there. So I've upgraded all the front LED housings, and with the proper, wiring harness that you purchased from Germany and stuff like that. So it makes a huge difference. I
Sure.
mean, the light output is like night and day difference. And plus, once again, going back to the aesthetics, it makes the van look really nice with the
Right.
LED with
Right.
the LED lights. So yeah. I mean, I almost feel like we could have a podcast just about mods, but
Modcast.
yeah, there you go. I'll stop there because I wanna hear Gordy and Dolly. So, but yeah,
Well, we
All
haven't
right.
done that many mods, but like they said, we're going in tomorrow for the suspension. Of course, our trip home from Fort Worth was across West Texas, and so we were victimized by the wind there. And I knew as soon as we got back that and matter of fact, at New Year's when we met right after getting back, um, we were talking with four other folks that were there and comparing the Van Compass with the what's the other one, the Agile Off-Road system. So it's something that everybody does, and like Lorenzo said, you add all that weight, and it's going to affect the vehicle that was not designed from Mercedes. Another thing I just learned, and maybe you can confirm or deny this, but the Storyteller comes on a higher level sprinter than the Revel does, and so the Storyteller you get heated seats, for
Right.
instance, and a
Right.
couple of other things that are nice for the driving position and the driving the driver and passenger, but that you don't have with the Revel. Other than that, mods that we've made have only been, well, I bought the headlight package, and I'm still not sure whether I'm going to put in LEDs or not. We're not intending to drive the vehicle at night a lot, and I'd read some adverse things about them too. Lorenzo went the factory route, but there's other lighting packages that can go in. So they're sitting on the kitchen table right now, waiting for me to make a decision. We put in the overhead shelf, and Dolly's a pretty good seamstress, and so she's made some rather than going out and buying like back of the seat packs and that kind of thing. We've custom made some that were tailored more to what our lifestyle is, and we are we're not big off-roaders. We don't plan on taking it into a lot of four-wheeling territory, but we named our van Seymour Roads, and that's what we plan on driving it a lot, but it'll probably be in parks and in national parks, state parks, and so less boondocking, although we certainly have the capability to boondock.
Sure. YoungWa, what about you? You said you've torn your van apart.
Yeah. So I have a lot of experience prior because I did the van life with the Travado. I got the 59K. It was a 2018 or I can't remember. I bought it new, but anyways, so I learned a lot, and so I had, I guess, habits and likes that I carried on over. So the big thing is because I knew I was going to be a digital nomad and live full time in it, is that I had to have a dedicated office space. So essentially I took the entire bed out the back, the Dreamweaver bed is what it's called. I took it out completely. And then I put, I don't know if you've heard of the Container Store, but they have drawers,
Mm-hmm.
that I had. So I anchored those down on the L track, and then I put a standing desk on top of it, and so that's my desk. And then behind I had the other side, which was wide open because of the flare space. So I went over and talked to Jason from Canyon Adventure Vans, and he built me a custom storage place with a shelf. So that like doubled my storage right there. I did the van life shelf above the cabin. I got the agile upgrade for the suspension with the 5,400 pound like beefier springs, because I was just I was just like sagging so bad.
Mhm.
And then I got the auxiliary fuel tank that Agile has. I got the pedal box. I mean, I'm gonna just stop right there because it's just kind of insane. I mean, these two know what I'm talking about because it was
Yes.
probably, I think, for like 3 months straight. I was like posting mods almost every single day.
That's
But anyways,
awesome.
yeah, I mean it's addicting and it's fun and it's my house and like some people like to interior decorate. That's kind of like how I look at it too. So, but I think the biggest thing, whether you buy a Storyteller or Revel, um, and this is with talking with other people because of the podcast, like you're gonna want that storage above the cabin. You're gonna want the suspension, and then that's really about it. Like those are basically the must-haves. I don't know what your priorities and how long you're going to take it out for. So a lot of people like to get the owl boxes, which I have for additional storage. So it really just kind of depends what you want. And that's the cool thing about it is that you can trick it out and make it as sick as you want. So it's really up to you and your wallet.
Yeah, the owl box is definitely on my priority list, and probably the one-up bike rack too.
Mhm.
Mm.
And I like Owl's tire carrier as well for the back. So
Yeah, I have that too. It's great. So I haven't heard of any complaints. And actually, Lady Julie Lazan, that was she's episode number 3 that hasn't been released yet, but she's heading a podcast episode just for people who like to mountain bike. And so they're going to talk about how they set up their racks and like the issues that they have with whatever configuration and manufacturer that they're using. So um, that might be an interesting listen for you in the future. I mean, and the cool thing is that all this stuff that you're talking about, it doesn't matter if you have a Revel or
Yeah.
Storyteller,
right.
So that's good.
Mhm.
When I was talking with Jason, um, Canyon Adventure Vans, he was telling me that he never cooks inside of his. He has a little portable stove that fits inside of his box, and he usually cooks outside. Do you guys cook inside of yours a lot? Well, YoungWa, I noticed that you had a whole dinner going on in yours.
Um, Truth be told, like I haven't cooked a lot because there's a lot of smoke inside, and because I have a 2020, I can't take my stove outside. So I haven't done a whole lot of cooking. I have a small instant pot that I use, and it doubles as a rice cooker and a sauteer and like all that stuff. So that kind of helps. So I'll take that outside to cook. But a lot of times, like I don't like cooking in like a Walmart parking lot or like sometimes where I stay the
Really? What
night.
would be
It's
so
not
wrong
very.
with that?
I know, right? I don't want to be that person, but yeah. So when I'm actually traveling en route to somewhere else, I tend to eat out more. But once I actually get somewhere and I hunker down, then that's where I'll cook. So, but it does get really smoky inside if you do cook inside. I don't know other people's experience, but at least that's mine.
YoungWa, I think that's maybe something that we could potentially do for a podcast episode is meals, meal prepping, stuff like that. Because like I said, we recently did a trip to Yosemite, and one of the things that that I really liked that we did for that trip is that um, we kind of came up with like a bunch of like meals and stuff like that like for example I pre-cooked pasta and had it ready, so all I had to do was like pop it in the microwave, warm it up, and put some Alfredo sauce on it, sprinkle some bacon, and voila, it was a great
Carbonara.
meal. And yeah, exactly. And I think that that's something that a lot of people would very much enjoy. I know I would enjoy talking about food.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I'm gonna put that on the
So
calendar for sure.
We,
That's a
we
great
could
idea.
we could
Thank you.
share recipes too.
yeah,
There we
exactly.
go. Yeah, we'll have a podcast for mountain biking, and then we'll have one for cooking.
Yep.
So
Uh,
Gordy's the cook, and we have an instant pot, and I think we always cook dinner, mostly with the door open.
Yeah.
The slider is open, so smells weren't an issue. But yeah,
Now, how do you guys find the refrigerator size? It seems like the freezer is super, super tiny in there. It's not like you're getting things that you're going to want to keep frozen for too long. But is the refrigerator adequate size? I mean, YoungWa, I'm sure it is for you because you're tiny and it's just you.
Actually, it's kind of not. So when Chad and Paul were here in Tucson the other day, I checked out their fridge. In fact, that was one of the first things that I checked out because I've never seen a 2021 before. My freezer is probably it's the length of the fridge and the width of the fridge, if that makes sense. But it's only like, I don't know, maybe 5 inches tall, if that. So it's pretty tiny. But then when I looked at theirs, it's literally like a little corner in the fridge.
Yeah.
Right.
And so their freezer's even smaller than mine. And like I like to make smoothies and stuff, so I have my frozen fruit. So I'm kind of glad I have the older fridge in that aspect. But I think cubic wise, my fridge is smaller. And coming from a Travado, that had a lot bigger fridge. And so to me, it's not as much because I can probably buy like 3 days worth and shove it in there versus a Travado, I could do almost a full week of food. So to me, it's downsizing, but it's really not that bad because I don't cook that much. But I think it's just kind of on what your perspective is. So
Right.
Yeah, that was actually something
I
that
think for me
attracted
or
us.
for
Go ahead, Lorenzo.
go ahead. I was gonna say for us, I mean, there's three of us, two adults and my daughter, and I think that yes, the freezer portion of it is, I mean, almost non-existent.
Hmm.
But the fact that you do have a little bit more cubic feet, or I don't even know how big what the cubic feet on that is, but you have a little bit more space for the actual refrigerated food and drinks and stuff like that. And I think for us, that's been at least up to this point where we've only I think we've spent like 3 or 4 days in the rig at any given time. It's been fine. But I think that once you start getting past that, it probably starts running you probably start running out of space, or you probably need maybe an external like cooler, like a fridge freezer combo kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, I've looked at those as well. Just kind of haven't found one that I really love. And also the where to place it. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I haven't found where I could place it and not have to worry about keep moving it, because space is a premium in these rigs. So yeah.
Gordy, you were going to say something before.
Oh, yeah, just the size of the refrigerator was one thing that attracted me to the Travado in the first place, but realized that was really the only feature that we loved about it was the size of the fridge. And we had no problem coming, but from on our 5-day trip, but at the same time, you stop and refresh, and we carry a lot of dried food. We cook a lot of rice and pastas, so we don't have to have a lot. Most of our fresh stuff we're fine with eating it when it's bagged or in the drawers. It doesn't have to be chilled. I understand with YoungWa, with your smoothies that yeah, you got to keep the berries frozen, but we haven't noticed a problem with that at all. And again, trying to carry a Yeti with you or something else. And like I say, we're tent campers, so we're pretty used to having an ice chest for our refrigeration anyway. So this is definitely a step up.
Now, one of the main, I guess it's to me, the elephant in the room is the Volta system. When I saw that on the Travados, I was kind of blown away by it. and dumbfounded as to why they didn't try to put that on the Revel at all instead of, I don't even know what they have in there, but um, that has to be a huge plus for the storytellers. Do you guys find that that's kind of, if you talk about like one of the main things you love is it's the power system?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first. That's probably the number one reason I bought the Storyteller, because I was gonna buy a Revel. In fact, I almost put a deposit down, or I had a deposit and got it back. But because once I found out what the 2021 Revel power system was, it was basically inferior to the Volta system, and I don't know why Winnebago didn't put the Volta in the Revel, because they have it in their other models. So I mean, I don't know. But living in it full time, I need that juice to be able to be a digital nomad, and so that was really, I would say, top three reasons why I bought the Storyteller. But yeah, I mean, it's a game changer. It really is. Like, I don't know about other people's experience, but not to coming from a Travato with a generator, not to have to worry about filling it up and then your propane and then, you know, just trying to get electricity, having that loud generator on was insane. And now I can plug in for days and not even have to worry about it. I mean, I'll send you some pictures after this, because I have an entire office like in my van. So, but yeah,
Nice.
it's just so nice to not worry about it. And I drive around a lot, so within an hour, maybe hour and a half at most, I'm 100%. And that's like the average of what you see in regards to charging, because the second alternator on the Storyteller is different than the one on the Revel, and that's just because the Storyteller has a bigger battery. It's got to recharge.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so I think in comparison, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's generally an hour, maybe 2 hours for the Revel to charge, from what I've seen from the Facebook post. But I mean, I don't know. That's the last I've seen of it. But yeah, the Volta for me, like I said, is like top three reasons why I bought the Storyteller.
Yeah, no, I was gonna add a little bit on that. Yeah, so when that's one of the things that I before purchasing, I like to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that initially I was excited when I saw the list of changes for the 2021 Rebel, because like I said at the time I didn't know about the uh, um, Storyteller, and then once I started digging into the details of it, um, I mean it just doesn't compare to the Volta system. Um, the they're two completely different systems. I mean, the Rebel uses a 12-volt system, uses 12-volt batteries, which are essentially batteries that, lithium batteries that you can buy off the shelf, to set up your own solar package, whatnot. Uh, and therefore the second alternator in the Rebel is also a 12-volt alternator, which does not put out as much power as the one in the Volta system. That's why, as YoungWa mentioned, it roughly takes about 2 hours for it to recharge two small batteries.
Hmm.
Um, when the Volta system, being I think it's a, what is it, 48-volt system, I think it is on the, I don't remember exactly the specs on the Volta system, but I think it is 48 volts. Um, and essentially, um, and the battery bank is completely encased. It's designed specifically for, they call it automotive grade. The alternator itself, if I recall correctly, puts out, I think, roughly about 4 times the power that the alternator on the Rebel puts out. So that's why, even though it's
Jeez.
a much bigger battery, it's still able to fully charge I think the battery in about an hour and a half,
Right.
of just highway driving. So I mean, it's really comparing apples to oranges, and they're not even really on the same playing field.
Hmm.
I think that, and I know YoungWa was mentioning that. I mean, they have the experience because they've had it in the Travados previously. So why didn't they put the Volta into the Rebel? And most likely, it's because of the cost. Because a Volta system is probably in that range is probably what, maybe 25-30K
Yeah.
for just the battery system alone. So if they tack that onto a Rebel that's already pushing 200 on their MSRP, then you're looking at a way outpriced vehicle.
Right.
Good
What I
luck
mean?
finding a loan for that one.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, using the Volta system, I mean, uh, it, let's just put it this way: it's so good that you end up having you almost take it for granted that it's you just have enough juice for whatever you have to do, and then like I mentioned, we drive ours quite a bit, so. I mean, I don't think the batteries ever go below like 90 or 80% really,
Hmm.
even with us constantly using it for, for different things. So, yeah.
I'm reminded that somebody on the forum asked a couple of months ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I guess, uh, where do you store your 30-foot 30 amp power cord? And the response was, at home in the garage. You don't need it. And the only time we've ever used it is when we're plugged into shore power here at home. I suppose we'll take it with us in the summer, because if we do camp hosting or something like that, we may not be moving the van around a lot. But other than that, we haven't had any issue. So.
And Gordy and Dolly, you guys are going to take the van up to Oregon when it's super hot in Palm Springs and just stay up here for quite a
Yeah,
while and live out of your van?
probably Seattle. Yeah.
Okay.
Seattle and go up in the mountains and visit the parks and visit family and plug into their power and use their water.
Right.
And take a shower.
Yeah, take a shower.
So we're planning like 2 months on the road.
Oh,
But-
very nice.
Yeah, better than a tent. And he cooks, and we have sometimes a Yeti. Probably carry a Yeti with us, and inflatable kayak.
Inflatable kayak, so we'll get our activity in. We have just road bikes, so we probably won't. We may not take the road bikes with us, but we're not big mountain bikers. But so we haven't even thought about how we'd carry them if need be. But anyway, that's the plan. We'll see if we are able to carry it out.
I will say with the battery system, with the Volta, it has a 3600 watt inverter. So you can literally power anything you want at the same time, and you'll never pop a fuse. Which is,
Jeez.
I think with the Revel, it's 2000. Someone,
Yeah,
I
it's
just know it's
2000.
not 30. I just know it's not 3600. So if you or someone else are going to be plugged in with a bunch of stuff at the same time, that's also something that you're going to need to take account of. So
Right. I was going to ask one more question. Does the Storyteller vans come with privacy shades, for the side windows and the back and the front?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
All windows are covered, and they're dark on one side and they're reflective on the other. So depending on whether you're trying to keep the heat in or keep the heat out, determines they're all magnetic, so they cling to the window frames. And the other thing that is one of the mods that some people do, because the front three windows, passenger, driver, and windshield, are kind of a hassle. They can be a hassle to connect. A lot of people put a curtain, a blackout curtain,
Right.
off their shelf, and that gives you the privacy in the back of the van without anybody recognizing that you're working back there or watching TV or whatever it is that you might be doing in the back.
Right.
It's
Speaking of,
also,
go ahead,
oh,
Lorenzo. Sorry.
I was going to say that curtain also helps a lot if you're in the cold and you're trying to insulate your van, and because it makes the space that the heater has to keep warm smaller. So and a lot of energy loss goes through the windows. So it actually makes the whole van a little bit more cozy quicker when you have the curtains. So.
Now, speaking of entertainment and television, do you guys just watch, bring your laptop or your iPad?
Yes.
We play cards.
I
Yes,
have a. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we carry an iPad, and usually that's the we try to disconnect, when you're out in nature. I mean, at least that's one of the goals is to try to enjoy the outdoors more. But we still carry an iPad because we have a young daughter. So
Absolutely.
I configured mine where I have a second monitor mounted, and so I just swing it around because the Groove Lounge will. I'm assuming you've watched YouTube videos about the Groove Lounge where it can be a seat and
Yep.
then transform into a bed. So I use that as my bed, and so I literally prop it up and I swing the monitor around, and then I just watch it from there. So I'm just straight
Oh,
chilling.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, it sounds like I need to see more pictures of your van, YoungWa.
We'll see. Well, yeah. I mean, if you get a chance, I know you're not on Facebook, but I mean, just a lot of people have a Facebook account and they don't even have any pictures or anything. Like the only reason why I have a Facebook account is for this Facebook group. So if you want to start like a fake one or whatever, and just put a fictitious name. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't put pictures on their profile. Um, I mean, that's a good way. But my biggest recommendation before you purchase is get on both of the Facebook forums and just see what people are saying, because one, you'll get a lot of cool tips and tricks once you do get whatever you decide to get. And then two, it's a great repository of information because people, I wouldn't say frantically, but when things go wrong, they post in the forum and then we all try to help them out. And that's the same way in the Revel forum. And especially and with the Revel, or excuse me, with the chassis, the Revel and the Storyteller basically share the same issues for the most part. And so having those two pieces of information and being able to put them together will really, really help you before and after you buy. So,
Right.
make a fake, I would say make a fake Facebook account. That's my number one suggestion for you. But
Well, thank you all very, very much. This has been super helpful to get inside the minds of the people who own and drive them. Uh, Lorenzo, that I'm drooling over yours. I don't know what wheels you put on it, but you said you got bigger ones. I was already in love with the look of that one. So
yeah, I ended up going with the Black Rhino Overland wheels,
nice.
and so essentially what I did was with either the Revel or the Mode, you can only put so big of a tire
Right.
before your
Starts to rub.
all the electronics won't work. I think it's a 31 inch or 32-inch tire, 32-inch tire. I think it's 32-inch tire, the maximum where after that the electronics go haywire and they don't work. Um, so that's essentially what I have on Black Rhino Overland wheels. Some. So yeah, but like I said, I love it. And I think that YoungWa and Gordy and Dolly, they can all agree is that it's really fun, and a lot of us have different reasons and stuff like that, but we all have kind of come together, and I think that um, you end up getting to know new people, meet new people, and I think that that's another aspect that, to be honest, I hadn't even considered before I, you know, bought the rig, and I'm really digging it. I really like meeting and talking to all these awesome people. So
The community.
yep.
It is. Yeah, both
Gordy
Dolly
and
and I.
Dolly, do you have any? Oh,
Oh, I was just going to add, both Dolly and I are really active in, I guess now 3 car clubs, and it's like a car club without bylaws and elected officers. The camaraderie. I'm a longtime Alfa Romeo owner, and we have a saying in the club that it's these quirky little Italian cars that bring us together, but it's the people that keep us together. And we come from all walks of lives. There's engineers and there's carpenters and teachers and all kinds of stuff. And if we just it's the affinity, this one common thread that we have, the van life, and then more specifically the storyteller stories that we tell.
Right on.
does anyone else have any parting words for Lionel before we end the podcast?
Hopefully, we didn't sway you too much into the storyteller side, but
I think I was already there.
No, but yeah, I think that hopefully this was helpful to you, and whether you're in a Revel or in a storyteller, hopefully we'll see you in the road.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. YoungWa, I appreciate you inviting me into the podcast. And Dolly and Gordy, thank you guys for your time today. And yeah, I hope to see all of you guys on the road someday soon.
Hope to
That'd
see
be
you.
great.
Enjoy it.
Don't get mad if you get a Revel and we run you off the road. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking. We'll still meet up. In fact, the meetup in San Francisco, Revel showed up to it. So
Uh-oh. They crashed
Yeah.
the meetup.
yeah, well, I think there's one person that has a Revel that wants to switch it over to Storyteller. So, I mean, I don't know. Everyone has different priorities. Everyone has different likes and dislikes. So, I always say just get whatever will fit your needs the best. And everything is a compromise. Like one thing will be great on this rig, but not so great on the other, and vice versa. So you really just have to do the pros and cons. I mean, that's my final advice. Just get whatever will fit what you plan to do and want to do the best. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone's time. And I really enjoyed this podcast. So we need to do another one just like this.
The
Cooking.
modcast. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Donation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is YoungWa Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume, Golsong.
The original music and artists is done by
Jason Walsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
and the assistant sound designer is
Peng.
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is YoungWa with Stonation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.